Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, the Game Master, and in this one, we're going to be talking about Galactus and the Fantastic Four, or as the case is in our game world, where we often don't have four people playing, we call them the FF sometimes, and then sometimes we refer to them as Fantastic Force, but I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Before we get into all of that, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. That helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, but also we love to hear from you guys. We've got an awesome community here, and that's thanks to you. So thank you so much for being here. So, all that said, let's dive in. The prologue to today's story takes place in New York City, where Johnny Storm is trolling Benjamin J. Grimm, the ever loving blue eyed thing. Sue Richards tells Johnny to cool it. Reed Richards suddenly interrupts all of this, coming over the PA system and insisting everyone head to his lab. They do, and the four of them are joined by Herbie the Robot, the sensational She Hulk, and Crystal of the Inhumans. As soon as they enter the lab, Reed punches some buttons on his computer equipment and brings up an image of Manhattan. And to everyone's dismay, what they see is Galactus, the devourer of worlds. So they head to the nearest hangar bay and grab a couple of fantastic cars, which brings us to the main plot. When the fantastic cars reach Galactus and the heroes pile out, Ben Grimm says it's clobbering time, and Johnny Storm yells flame on. Sue Richards erects an invisible force field around herself, which she uses to fly like a Green Lantern would. And then she uses her invisible force manipulation to create a giant invisible fist, which she uses to punch Galactus. Meanwhile, at ground level, Reed Richards uses his plastic man like shape shifting powers to turn into a sleek blue futuristic motorcycle, kind of like what we see in the Tron movies. And as a friendly reminder, in the Earth K dimension where our role playing game takes place, the cosmic energy which gave our Fantastic Four their powers came from Galactus, endowing each of them with a fraction of his omnipower. Then the original Reed and Sue had a kid named Franklin Richards. And we did the same thing that some Marvel continuities have done, where Franklin actually grows up, goes back in time, and it turns out he was Galactus the entire time. So it's a causality loop where Franklin created the FF, who in turn created Franklin. Then in our game, Franklin's sister, Valeria Richards, gave birth to kids who she named after their parents. I mentioned this because those kids, who are now adults, have a little bit more of that omni power than the original Reed and Sue did. In other words, when people play the FF in my role playing game, I give them experience points, which they spend to upgrade their powers. So the Fantastic Force may have a few more bells and whistles than you are used to. At any rate, getting back to the story. So Reed Richards II is racing around the streets in motorcycle mode. He extends net like protrusions off the outside of his main body and then uses them to cart the innocent bystanders off to safety. Sue Richards II fires what are basically invisible bullets at Galactus. Ben clobbers the giant's ankle while Johnny hits him in the face with fire. But none of these attacks do any damage because Galactus has a body of 27 APs in the DC Heroes RPG. And on top of that, he has 13 APs of skin armor. So his resisting value adds up to 40 APs, making him exactly the same as pre Crisis Superman in terms of what his body kind of acts like. And he's hungry. So he picks up a Fantasticar and eats it. And when he does so, Reed activates the vehicle's detect power. So as it falls down the huge throat of Galactus, its various onboard devices scan the giant and relay their findings to Reed, who realizes this is a robot. This new Galactus is part of the recent storyline we were doing where there were these various robotic duplicates of classic Marvel villains. She-Hulk and Crystal attack one of the ankles while Herbie the robot flies around Galactus, shooting at him with something akin to a surgical laser. But nobody has done a single point of damage yet. So Reed grabs a couple of nearby street lamps, turns himself into a slingshot, and then shoots himself into the into the mouth of the Galactus robot, where he uses fluid form to basically turn into a drink. Galactus swallows him, and as soon as he goes down the robot's throat, what we end up with is something akin to the ending of the 1986 Transformers the movie, when Hot Rod was inside of Unicron, who was another giant robot that wanted to eat planets. Anyways, so Reed starts driving around inside of Galactus in that sleek motorcycle mode that I mentioned earlier, looking for mechanisms that he can identify. Then he transforms back into his normal man shape, then turns his hands into the necessary tools to start taking apart the robot from the inside out. As Reed does this, Sue assumes command at street level, telling her team to get people to safety. And when Galactus is about to crush a building, she erects a force field around it. And eventually, the robot is shut down. Which brings us to the epilogue. Sentry comes along and sees the robot, but doesn't know it's been shut off. So he does an uppercut to its chin. And what happens next basically seems like a Rock'em Sock'em Robots joke. The giant head is knocked into orbit while its huge body does leave the ground a little bit, then crashes onto its back into the water next to the Statue of Liberty. Elsewhere, the Masters of Evil detect this, and the robotic Doctor Doom has been rebuilt. And while people were focused on the Galactus robot, the robotic Masters of Evil raided several tech companies, stealing the parts they needed to try to recreate a piece of Skrull technology that Doom recently encountered on the Skrull homeworld. From afar, he can control what the Galactus robot does, so he has the head substitute its Omni power for 40 APs of invisibility. So in game, the head cloaks itself. Then some more APs of Omni power are used for flight. So when the superheroes go to where they think the head should be, they don't find it. And of course, that's not the last time we'll see the head of the Galactus robot, but what happens next is a story for another day. We liked this one. We hope that you did too. If so, as always, smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed, because YouTube loves to unsubscribe you and not tell you, and to leave us a comment. And from everybody here at the longest running superhero role-playing game on Earth, we hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure. Bye.